Ah, Norm, the typical annoying little brother. When we meet him, it's clear that he kinda gets on everybody's nerves. No one really takes him all that seriously. The only attention he gets is by being a bit of a goofball sometimes, by annoying his older sister.
Must be nerve-wracking. Your husband could be anybody. And as for his looks,
who knows?
Big butt, no butt. But of course, it's just superficial concerns. It's what's on the inside that counts.
That's right.
And in that respect, he could be a cannibal or just like Cramp. But tumors.
Norman?
He's also a bit socially awkward. During the wedding ceremony, he just doesn't want to dance. He'd prefer to be a bit of a wallflower. And yet, it's clear that his family loves him. Despite his eccentricities, he's accepted for who he is. We don't get the impression that anyone in the vault is cruel to him or tries to make him feel left out. Instead, he feels like he doesn't quite fit in. And I think that's because he's a bit smarter than the average vault dweller, which is why he's the only one who notices during the wedding party that something's a bit off. The residents from Vault 32 are seated at the tables during the feast, and his father is giving a speech and everyone is enthralled by the overseer's words. But Norm, he notices something. These Vault 32 dwellers are a little bit dirty, and they look a little bit nervous, as if they're anticipating something. Norm is the only one who picks up on this. And that's why, for no other reason, he decides to explore Vault 32. There's no other sign of danger. There were no threats. Solely based on these clues that he picked up during the dinner party, he detected that something was off. He and he alone enters Vault 32 to discover the place in darkness and to discover the corpses. But he makes this discovery too late. By the time he gets back to Vault 33, the raiders, pretending to be residents from Vault 32, had already attacked. He couldn't warn his vault. He couldn't warn his family. And he doesn't know what to do. His friends and family are dying all around him, and so he chooses to hide. While everyone else around him runs in terror, he manages to compose himself and engage in stealth. He hides behind some planters. He hides under the table. Ultimately, his stealth fails, and he's saved because of someone else's courage, his big sister's courage. Lucy saves her brother. She knows who he is. She loves him for who he is. Norm is not a fighter. His courage doesn't manifest in physical confrontation, and so she hides him under a floor panel in the atrium. This moment haunts Norm for the remainder of the series. He's ashamed of himself for hiding, while his friends and family die around him, while his sister brandishes a weapon and fights back. He hides. He sees that as cowardice, and it eats away at him.
I hid. During the raid, I got in a storage space and I hid.
But I don't think he needs to be ashamed. I wish we could tell him that courage manifests in many ways. He may not be the kind of man who can defend his family with might, but that doesn't mean he's a coward. It means his bravery and his courage manifests in other ways. After the attack on Vault 33, Lucy, in her naivety, wants to rally the vault together to go find her father.
We send a search party to the surface to find my dad.
We're all hurting right now. But our first priority has to be to maintain the security of this vault. That means not opening any of our doors.
They don't want to fight Dad. If they did, they wouldn't get to be in charge.
But Norm realizes the truth. The Vault Council has no interest in finding Hank McClane. If they did, they would no longer be in power. And he's not afraid to say so. Lucy, to her credit, realizes her brother is right. She knows where his strengths lie. He's smart, he's perceptive, and she's wise enough to listen to him. She's also wise enough to engage him in her plot. Only her family rallies together to help her escape Vault 33. Norm does so without flinching. Now, it's true that he's not very good at lying. He's kind of awkward socially.
Hey, Davey. How's your day going?
bad as everyone else's.
But when it comes down to it, he helps her up that elevator without blinking. Chet, their cousin, has reservations.
I can't.
Mainly stemming from the fact that he's in love with Lucy and doesn't want to see her go. But Norm understands his sister. He knows why Lucy has to leave. He's on board. But he's mature enough to recognize his strengths and his weaknesses.
I'm too chicken. Thanks.
He knows he's not the kind to leave the vault, to venture out into the wasteland. And his sister knows this too. Which is why one of her last wishes before leaving Vault 33 is that Chet watch over her brother.
Take care of Norm till I'm back, okay?
Chet is a charming guy. He's kind, he's genuine, but he's not that bright. And that's okay. Chet also has his place in the vault. When Chet is chewed out by the Vault Council, he feels like he's really let everybody down. When he loses his job as the gatekeeper, he's crushed and he takes it personally.
It's not a big deal. I'm just not really sure who I even am anymore.
But Norm just doesn't care.
What are we going to do with you?
Punish me with a demotion, I guess.
Norm has spent a lifetime in this vault, not being challenged. There is no job in this vault that interests him, nothing that piques his curiosity. He really can't be punished by being demoted because there's really nothing here that interests him, which means that he has nothing to fear.
Are you aware that at every job you've been assigned to, your performance review has been lax enthusiasm?
No, but that sounds accurate.
This fearlessness is not the characteristic of a coward. It takes courage, or maybe apathy, to stare these people in the eyes and tell them that there's nothing they can do to hurt him.
You're currently working with computers. How do you like that?
I like enthusiasm. It's a predicament, isn't it? How do you demote someone who equally dislikes every job he's ever worked?
And he has a moral compass. But where did this moral compass come from? Did it come from his dad? The way he was raised? Maybe. But knowing the full story about his father makes me wonder if it really did come from his upbringing. He shares this moral compass with his sister, and he's not afraid to point out the hypocrisy that he sees going on in Vault 33.
I'm just glad to hear that we punish people down here for breaking the rules. Is that just for Vault Dwellers or for people who come down here and murder Vault Dwellers?
I think he knows that he's really smart, and he takes a bit of pleasure in using that intelligence to kind of goad those around him. It's clear to him from the onset that there's trouble brewing within the Vault Council now that Hank McLean, the Overseer, is gone. The anchor that kept this vault stable is gone as well. The 3 remaining council members are now vying for the position of Overseer. He knows this, and he is not afraid to sow the seeds of discord.
The hard truth is we can't just let them go. So what do you propose we do?
We can do what they would have done to us.
I think you would agree that murdering these prisoners of ours is not under serious consideration.
I'm sorry. You're right. It was not my intention to question your leadership, Overseer.
Thank you.
But when Norm is clever, when he's smart, his behavior stands out to other clever, smart people. Betty notices how observant Norm is, which is why she sees Norm as a potential threat. She warns him.
Regular boys can get angry and they'll just pee on the wall. And clever boys like you are angry. You're lucky not to have seen where that can lead. Just tread lightly.
But does she warn him for his own benefit? Is she just giving him guidance? Or is she warning him because she sees him as a threat to her? Those are the questions that instantly go through Norm's mind, which is why, when feeding the raiders, whom he despises, he still keeps his ears open.
What are you looking at?
A murderer in a cage, paying the price for what you did to us, for what you did to the innocent people in Vault 32.
I don't know what the people of Vault 32 were up to. But it was anything but innocent.
Norm is the only member of this entire vault to recognize that there's something off. When he briefly went into Vault 32, it looked like it had been deserted for years.
Whatever happened here happened a long time ago.
There wasn't fresh blood or fresh corpses in Vault 32. The records of Vault 32 were restricted. Together, these facts didn't fit with the story he was supposed to believe. The inconsistencies stood out to him, which is why he began his investigation. Chet isn't very smart. He's not all that brave, but he's loyal. He loves his family, and the last thing Lucy told him was to look after Norm. Which is why when Norm approaches him to go into Vault 32, Chet agrees.
Feel like getting out of the house?
Yes.
I mean, to be fair, things weren't exactly great back at home for Chet. Stephanie kind of forced herself upon the poor guy. And so now he's stuck with her giving birth in his room, and he's ready to get out of there. But he wasn't prepared for what Norm was getting him into.
This is so wrong.
Come on. You have to see this.
Wrong.
Norm and Chet get into Vault 32 and explore the place together. The two of them both observe things that don't make a lot of sense.
The last biosignal detected was 2 years ago.
So if they were already dead when the Raiders got here, who killed them? It just doesn't make any sense.
But when Norm discovers that it's his mother's Pip-Boy that opened the door to Vault 32...
It still doesn't explain how the Raiders got in. It says it was open from the outside.
No. They'd need a Pip-Boy to open the door.
They had one.
Whose?
My mom's.
Chet recoils in horror, but Norm doesn't. Yes, he's disturbed. Yes, he's confused, but more than anything, he's curious. This is a problem that needs to be solved. This is a question that must have an answer.
How did the Raiders get a hold of my mom's Pip-Boy?
These questions must have answers, and Norm wants to keep hunting for them, but Chet just wants to go.
I want to check one more thing.
Can't we just go home?
It looks like they were trying to get into 31. But why?
All I know is we're leaving.
On their way out of Vault 32, they get stopped by Betty, and the two of them do their best to try and cover their tracks.
Where have you two been?
We've been planting potatoes.
Potatoes.
But neither Chet nor Norm are very good at lying, and so Betty is instantly suspicious. Chet is ready to forget everything that he saw in Vault 32, but not Norm. And so he consults the Intervault archives, whereupon he makes the discovery that every person to have been elected overseer of Vault 33 was originally a dweller in Vault 31. Betty is then elected the new overseer of Vault 33, and it just so happens that she too was a resident from Vault 31. He knows something is off here, but he can't confront her just yet, not in a room full of people. He has to wait for the right moment. It's only later that he finally confronts her about the one clue that he picked up in Vault 32.
Betty, when my mother died, what happened to her Pip-Boy?
It was buried with her.
How are you so sure?
Because I buried her myself. Me and your father.
But there was something about her response that seemed vaguely threatening. The way she looked at him, the way she touched him. He was perceptive enough to pick up on that threat, and she was intelligent enough to realize that he would, hoping that it would be enough to make him back down. But she underestimated Norm. All it did was confirm his suspicions. All it did was make him more curious. But he doesn't want to do this alone, and so he raises the problem with the only other person he has to talk about this, his cousin Chet. But Chet is dismissive.
You don't think it's weird that we always elect an overseer from Vault 31? They did the same exact thing in Vault 32.
Honestly, no. By all accounts, Vault 31 has more resources, better education system, and, they got that phrase.
When things look glum, vote 31. So if it's not at all worrisome, why are we whispering?
Because we just snuck into a vault filled with dead bodies. Not to mention Steph's from Vault 31.
Oh! Hello, Norman.
Steph, I actually was just heading out. We'll pick this up later.
Hey, sure.
But instead of just leaving, instead of being non-confrontational, like a coward would be, Norm sees an opportunity to get more information.
Steph? How's Vault 31 different from here?
What did your dad tell you?
Not much, actually. That's why I'm asking.
Gee, I don't know. Maybe the mashed potatoes were a little better?
That is what my dad used to say.
Must be true then.
It must be true.
And that's all the information he needed. Betty was from Vault 31, and she lied to him. Steph was from Vault 31, and she was evasive. Now he's confident that this is more than just a coincidence. This is a conspiracy. But before he can plan his next move, somebody poisons the raiders that are being held captive.
What happened?
The medic says it looks like rat poison.
It just so happens that Norm was assigned by the council to be in charge of delivering food to the raiders. But Norm didn't poison these people. It was Betty. In this scene, she's directly threatening Norm. But Norm is the only one intelligent enough to pick up on it.
Oh, more death. What did I tell you, Norman? Words have meaning.
On one hand, she's tying in this event with what she told Norm in the past. When he voices criticism, when he voices his concern, he can inspire those around him to do unspeakable things like poison the very raiders who murdered half the population of the vault. In this way, she's trying to make him feel guilty, to goad him into being more compliant. But it's also a direct threat, because they're holding someone else responsible for this at the moment.
We'll find out who is behind it.
Get off of me! I wouldn't do something like that!
They're going to do an investigation. They're going to find out who really did this. She's telling Norm that if he doesn't fall in line, if he doesn't stop asking these uncomfortable questions, they might just discover that he was the one who poisoned the raiders. He has to act now before it's too late. But Betty is smart too. Somehow, Betty cleaned up Vault 32 after Chet and Norm had discovered what was going on in there. Perhaps she realized at this moment what Chet and Norm had done. Surely she would have if she had seen some of the rubble moved aside. She knew she had to act immediately, before anyone else in Vault 33 realized what had gone on. Now, Chet and Norm are the only witnesses to what really happened in Vault 32, and Betty knew that Chet wasn't going to be a problem.
Find anything interesting?
Great job cleaning up.
Norm again goes to Chet to talk with him about what's really going on, and at this point, Chet's done.
So you're just gonna forget about everything we've seen?
I feel like this is a good moment for a fresh start.
You think so?
Someone obviously does.
Chet!
You're a coward. You know that, Chet?
We all are, Norm. That's why we live in a vault.
Chet may be right. Perhaps they are all cowards for living in a vault. But Chet is afraid of upsetting Stephanie. Chet is afraid of rebelling against the Overseer. Chet is afraid of acknowledging what he saw in Vault 32. He just wants this all to be over. He just wants to move on with his life. But that's not enough for Norm. While the vault is assembled outside the door to Vault 32, and half of the people are getting ready to move there to start new lives.
And we are proud to announce, as interim overseer of Vault 32, Stephanie Harper.
Norm uses the opportunity to sneak into the Overseer's office. He hacks into the Overseer's terminal and discovers a private messaging system between the Overseers of Vault 33 and Vault 32 with the Overseer of Vault 31. And someone there is listening. He pieces together everything that he's learned so far. It's not just a coincidence that all the Overseers to Vault 33 came from Vault 31. It has to be a conspiracy. The people from Vault 31 whom he has talked to are reluctant to divulge anything. He knows this has to be some sort of mission, which is why he's able to talk the Overseer of Vault 31 into opening the door. He stood at a door like this not long ago, and at that time he said that he was too chicken. Here he stands at a very similar door, but he's the only one in the entire vault who knows that something is wrong. His sister is gone, his father is gone, and his cousin is no longer of any help. If anyone is going to get answers, it's going to be Norm. It takes bravery to take this next step. This is not the act of a coward, and because of his bravery, he discovers what's really going on in Vault 31, a story I covered in my video, Vault Tech Revealed, that you can watch here. In the Fallout universe, people come with a variety of different skills. Some are strong, some are agile, some are lucky, some are smart. But no one is useless. Norm spent his entire life in this vault without the ability to utilize his skills. There was nothing to stimulate his intelligence, to stimulate his creativity, which is why he lacked enthusiasm. But he does have a role to play, an important one, an essential one. Courage manifests itself in many ways. Some courageous people take up arms to fight for family and friends. Some people utilize their perception, utilize their intelligence to see the bigger picture and to uncover the machinations going on all around them.
You look out at this wasteland, looks like chaos, but there's always somebody behind the wheel.
Norm is a fantastic character, really a breakout character in this series. When it started, I didn't know where they were going to take him. They could have very easily just left him as some forgotten side character in Vault 33, the annoying younger brother of the main protagonist. But they didn't. They turned him into one of the most compelling characters, in my eyes, in the entire Fallout show. And they left his story in such an awkward place, because when Series 1 ends, we're under the impression that Norm is stuck in Vault 31. How will Norm get out? We don't know, but I have no doubt that Norm will figure out a way. If I were to plot out Norm's special stats, I'd put 1 into strength, because he's not very strong, 10 into perception, because he sees what's going on around him, 5 into endurance. I don't know if he could withstand much physically, but he endures a lot in that vault, and he has plenty of stamina to conduct his investigations. 4 into charisma. Yeah, he's socially awkward, but he's kinda charming when he's witty. 9 into intelligence. He sees what's going on around him, and he's intelligent enough to act upon it. 5 into agility. He can be stealthy, sneak out of rooms without being noticed, hide under tables for a while before getting noticed. And 6 into luck. He's not the luckiest guy out there, but luck has saved him more than once, whether it's a family member coming to his aid or being able to hack a tricky terminal. Where would you put Norm's special stats? And what talents or perks would you give him? Small frame? Hacker? And what do you think overall about Norm as a character? Did you love the way that he was presented as much as I did? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. I publish new Fallout videos each and every week on my channel, so if you don't want to miss my next one, be sure to subscribe and to click that bell notification button. If you have already but you still feel like you're missing out on YouTube notifications, consider following me on Twitter at Oxhorn. I update Twitter manually with every new piece of content that I publish. I've got a plush for sale. It's ready for shipment, but I'm almost sold out. If you want to make sure you get one before I am, snag one today. I've also got a shirt shop with completely unique designs that you can't find anywhere else. My designs come on shirts in a variety of men's, women's, and children's sizes and in a wide array of colors. You can find them on other items as well, like smartphone cases, pillows, posters, mugs, stickers, prints, etc. So if interested, you can find a link to my shop in the description below, or you can click here. If you like what I do and you want to support me in another way, consider becoming a patron on Patreon or a member here on YouTube. YouTube members get little badges that appear next to their names in the comment sections of my videos, and they get access to Ox emojis that they can use in my video comments and in the live chats of my live streams. But more than anything, I'm just so glad you're here watching this video with me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon with more Fallout videos.
Last remaining residents finally awakens.
I know it will be scary out there, but